Top 10 building collapses in the world. Apparent rock-solid structures all over the world have cracked, split, and deteriorated right beneath people's feet. While many man-made buildings are both inspiring and stunning, human error, a lack of proper safety standards, and ineffective building codes can elicit truly petrifying catastrophes. Ocean Tower Demolition. Ocean Tower was an unfinished 31-story condominium in South Padre Island, Texas, United States, that collapsed when it was considered unsafe to remain standing. Construction was stopped in May 2008 when cracks formed in the building's supporting columns, and investigations disclosed that the core of the skyscraper had sunk by more than 14 inches. The plans for its demolition were revealed in September 2009. At the time of its controlled demolition in December 2009, the building was 55,000 short tons, and it was the tallest reinforced concrete structure to be imploded in that way. It was also called the Faulty Towers and the Leaning Tower of South Padre Island. J.L. Huston Department Store. Hudson was the tallest department store in the country and came second in square footage only to Macy's Anchor store in New York. It dominated the retail market in the city through the 1970s. The store was constructed in 12 separate stages, the first in 1911 and the last in 1946. In all, there are 33 levels in the building. The chain shut down its downtown store on January 17, 1983, after more than 90 years of business. When the building was sold to a Windsor company, the large beloved landmark began to become one big eyesore. Regardless of its many pitches to redevelop the gigantic structure, the building was imploded on October 24, 1998, at a cost of about $12 million. In less than a minute, generations of Detroit memories rested in a 60-foot high pile of rubble. Brayton Point Power Station. Brayton Point was a 1,600-megawatt coal-fired plant whose downfall in 2017 was hastened by the arrival of very cheap fracked natural gas that fed a new generation of power plants. In the end, it simply could not compete in the competitive marketplace. In just a few seconds, two 500-foot cooling towers from Massachusetts' last coal-fired power plant were diminished to rubble. The controlled raising went off as scheduled at 8 a.m. The towers, which were approximately 500 feet tall, had been among the final additions to the now-closed Brayton PowerPoint station. It took 4 years for them to be constructed for $600 million. They enjoyed a lifespan of roughly 6 years and a demise that took a matter of seconds. Westerholt Power Station. Westerholt Power Station was a coal-fired power station located in Gelsenkirchen, Westerholt, Germany. The power plant consisted of 2 units constructed in the 1960s, each capable of producing 150 megawatts of electricity. Its smokestack, established in 1981, was 337 meters, making it Germany's tallest chimney at the time. The power station was shut down on May 13, 2005, and the chimney was demolished on December 2006. It persisted as the tallest freestanding structure of any type to be obliterated in a controlled manner. Australian Beer Silo. In 2013, near Brisbane, Australia, a silo used to store malt for brewing beer was meant to collapse upon itself after a set of controlled denotations. The 50-year-old structure wouldn't go down. For around 40 minutes, the structure mimicked the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy as it stood at an angle. It took heavy equipment to push it over the rest of the way. The crowd of bystanders was left bemused when the building only tilted to one side. The St. Petersburg Sports and Concert Complex. The St. Petersburg SKK Sports and Concert Complex dates back to the Soviet era and was to be decimated for its poor condition. Local architects objected to the demolition plans, asserting that the building was an icon of Soviet neo-constructivist architecture. The stadium had a capacity of 25,000 spectators and was launched for the first time in 1980 for the Moscow Olympic Games. The stadium imploded during dismantling work, killing a worker who was ravaged by rubble. Chinese residential building. In December of 2009, everything was set to bring down a 22-story residential building in Luzhou, China. Due to the way the building was designed, the only safe way to demolish it was to arrange explosives around the foundations in a way that would divide it into two, which would both topple over independently of one another. There was a major miscalculation, and not enough explosives were used. Once they exploded, one half of the building fell onto the side on the ground, but the other dropped a few feet. It remained standing at a precarious slant, as if it was about to plunge. Chernobyl. The new safe confinement is a structure put in place in 2016 to constrain the remains of the No. 4 reactor unit at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which was destroyed during the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. The structure also confines the temporary shelter structure that was constructed around the reactor immediately after the disaster. Fertilizer plant explosion. In April 2013, an ammonium nitrate blast took place in the West Fertilizer Company's storage and distribution facility in Texas, United States, while emergency services personnel were encountering a fire at the facility. 15 people died, more than 160 were injured, and more than 150 buildings were destroyed or demolished. Investigators affirmed that ammonium nitrate was the material that detonated. In May 2016, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives reported that the fire had been deliberately set. Beirut Explosion. On 4 August 2020, a huge amount of ammonium nitrate stowed at the port of Beirut in Lebanon detonated, causing at least 218 deaths, 7,000 injuries, and $15 billion in property desecration, as well as leaving approximately 300,000 people homeless. A cargo of 2,750 tons of the substance had been stored in a warehouse without proper safety measures for the last 6 years after having been impounded by the Lebanese authorities from the abandoned ship.